Yes.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy, a production of flagandbanner.com. Through storytelling and conversational interviews, this weekly radio show offers listeners first-hand insight in starting and running a business, the ups and downs of risk-taking, and the commonalities of successful people. Connect with Kerry through her candid, often funny, and informative weekly blog, where you'll read and comment on life as wife, mother, daughter, and entrepreneur. And now it's time for Kerry McCoy to get all up in your business.
I'm Kerry McCoy, and it's time for me to get all up in your business. By that I mean to say, share my business knowledge and wisdom with you, our listeners. For the next hour, me and my guest, a fellow entrepreneur and a patent lawyer, will share our paths of entrepreneurship in pursuit of our dreams and give free advice on areas of expertise. The hope is that you might gain some knowledge and get insights into the risks and the rewards of owning a small business. Today's topic will be patents, copyrights of intellectual property. Now, you may be asking yourself, what qualifies this lady to get up in my business? And the answer is easy: experience. I started my company, Arkansas Flag and Banner, over 40 years ago with a meager $400. During the last 4 decades, Arkansas Flag and Banner has grown from door-to-door sales to telemarketing to mail order and catalog sales, and now relies heavily on the Internet. Each change in my sales strategy required a change in the company thinking and procedures. My wisdom, confidence, and my company grew. My initial $400 investment now produces nearly $4 million in annual sales. I think 4 may be my lucky number. In this next hour, here's what not to expect. Don't expect textbook answers or pie-in-the-sky theories. What you will hear is a candid conversation about really world experiences on topics I hope you'll find interesting. So be prepared for the truth. It's not always easy to hear. For example, in business, there are very few overnight successes. I worked a part-time job for 9 years before Arkansas Flag and Banner grew enough to support just me. It's now grown and expanded so much that to operate efficiently, we require, are you ready for this? A purchasing, manufacturing, graphic, shipping, technology, accounting, marketing, sales, and customer service department, plus a retail store. 25 people or more make their living from working at Arkansas Flag and Banner. But that didn't happen overnight. Starting and owning a business takes persistence, perseverance, and patience. My guest today is entrepreneur and attorney Joe Calhoun of the Calhoun Law Firm. His company's specialty is patents, copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets. Shh. Today he is going to share his knowledge and be a great resource for those who want to protect their inventions, products, technology, works of art, and or marketing programs. I love all these. I call him a patent lawyer, but he probably has a more expansive description of what he does, including helping startup companies. Before we dig into Joe Calhoun's psyche, let me tell you a little bit about him. He has a BS degree. Don't all lawyers have a BS degree?
Very few, actually.
Actually, BS is for Bachelor of Science. From Tulane in biology and psychology. He went to law school at the University of San Francisco. When he returned home to Little Rock, Arkansas, he worked as a law clerk at the Arkansas Court of Appeals. His next career move took him into the area of private practice with a well-known Little Rock law firm, where he eventually became a partner. On the eve of 2000, Joe left the comfort of his ready-made career and jumped into the world of entrepreneurship when he formed Calhoun Law Firm. Today, he is able to concentrate on his preferred areas of expertise, which are patents, copyrights, trademarks, trade secrets, and business competition. In addition, he loves working with startups and mentoring. Here to share his knowledge with us today is my friend, my neighbor, and attorney, Mr. Joe Calhoun. Welcome to the table, Joe.
Thank you, Kerry.
Do you know that the last 2 places I have lived, you have moved onto that street? Are you following me around?
I've been stalking you for years.
I thought about that when I was writing this. I thought, we keep living next to each other.
We were back door neighbors.
I know we were. Now we're side-by-side neighbors. So after reading your bio, I think I'm going to have to start addressing you as counselor when I see you walking the dog. You started your business in 2000. That was 16 years ago. But you say that you've been in this business for 25 years. What? Explain that.
Well, I started my firm on the very beginning of 2000. But really, I've been practicing law for a number of years before that. When I was graduated from law school out in San Francisco, I was working for a commercial litigation firm out there. But I was a Little Rock boy, born and raised, and knew I was going to die here, and so I decided, well, let's go on back. It's time to get home.
Are your parents here?
They are no longer with us, but they were.
All right, here's the big question. In 2000, you started Calhoun Law Firm. Was there something that happened that became a deciding factor to make you take that leap of faith into entrepreneurship?
I think it was really a culmination of a number of factors. I really had gotten my practice had developed into the intellectual property field. There weren't that many intellectual property lawyers then, and there aren't that many now, actually. And so there was another attorney at my firm that was he had just moved here from California, and we kind of teamed up and we went off on our own. We were just decided to make that jump. Got our own little Y2K bug, and just went off on our own and just went for it.
Are y'all still together?
No, Denny is no longer here. Actually, he's no longer with us.
Is he in Arkansas?
He's in heaven.
Oh my gosh! I keep asking you these ending questions. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say.
I tried to be diplomatic about it. But.
Okay. How many people are at your business now? How many lawyers do you have there?
In Little Rock, we've just got me. I've got another attorney who's of counsel to me in Palo Alto. We have a small office out there, and he's a California-based attorney. He was actually his previous life, he had been a software engineer, and then he was into software. He was managing software development teams and decided he's going into law.
Well, that's intellectual property. Is that kind of how it ended up? He ended up, because he was doing software, he ended up finding out so much about patent law through his own intellectual property?
Yes, and he went to law school and got out. You have to have a special license to be a patent lawyer. Yes.
Oh, really?
Not every lawyer can be a patent lawyer, and when you said all lawyers have a BS degree, you meant BS in a different sense. But as a practical matter, most lawyers don't have a Bachelor of Science degree, and that you really kind of almost have to have that to be a patent lawyer.
Well, I see that you do biotechnology patents. So I would see how your degree would be very important. How would you even know how to patent biotechnology without a degree?
You would not. And those types of patents were very, very new in the field. No organisms were patentable until about the 1998 or so, until the decision came down. Actually, it was a little earlier than that. But it's really a niche. But really, as a practical matter, I handle a lot more than just biotech. And really, a lot of mechanical types of patents. There's software patents, just a number of different types of technologies.
What about Monsanto, who patents their seeds? That's new.
Yes, and those are two different types of patents. So you can get what's called a utility patent on some of those, but really those are plant patents predominantly. When you can patent a species, a newly developed species of...
Is there any end to what you can patent?
Oh, yes, there is. The rules are getting ticky on some of this stuff, but there will always be something new to patent, just not different genres.
All right, this is a great place to take a break. When we come back, we're going to learn more about Calhoun's law firm and how it can help us. We're going to dig into the business of patents and trademarks and copyrights and find out what the difference is and what is patentable. You're listening to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy. I'm speaking today with Joe Calhoun from the Calhoun Law Firm in the River Market of downtown Little Rock, Arkansas. Joe, what do you think about I fought the law and the law won? You think that's a good idea?
The law is always going to win.
There you go. That's a perfect answer. So I read this. You say this about your firm. firm. The Calhoun Law Firm has over 25 years of legal and related business experience in commercial litigation and client counseling, especially in the intellectual property fields. You say, our primary practice areas include the creation of registration of intellectual property rights, the guiding of clients' commercialization of those rights, the assignment or licensing of such rights to or from others, and the enforcement of or defense against infringement claims. Geez, that sounds like lawyer talk. Can you tell us in layman terms what that means?
Well, my primary niche is patenting, but as a practical matter, not everybody needs a patent. My more general specialty is really helping startups get started up, and if they're already started up, helping them expand. A lot of folks, when they come to me, they've got an idea or some sort of a product or service that they're really wanting to try to get protected and turn it into a competitive advantage so that they can compete with in the world. And you oftentimes need a competitive advantage to do anything.
Can everything be patented?
Oh, you can get a patent on things, articles of manufacture. People call them widgets or products and things like that. You can get patents on processes, manufacturing processes, or even methods of doing business and just methods of doing things. You can get patents on improvements to those types of things. And again, you can get patents on plants. And there's this thing called a design patent. Look at it this way. There's a utility patent. You get a patent on the functional aspects of whatever this device or this process is, what it does. There's another patent called a design patent where you get a patent on really what it looks like, on the external ornamental appearance of the product.
Really?
The biggest case recently on that has been the Apple versus Samsung. Half of that case was about utility patenting on the functionality of the software, but a good portion of the case was on the sleek, streamlined look of the iPhone and how, according to Apple, Samsung copied or infringed that design patent.
Did they win?
They are still battling out with court. There was recently a decision came down where Apple had won the first round, and then the appellate court just reversed the judgment of $500 and something million because of the damages calculation.
What does that mean, the damages calculation?
Well, once you find that there is infringement, that someone has copied this particular product, for instance, then the question is, okay, there's liability for patent infringement, but the question becomes, was there damage, was there financial harm caused by that copying? And that's where the money is. That's where, when you're going after most cases. Do you think there was
infringement and harm, damaged harm that came to Apple over the Droid design copying? Just you?
I don't know. I don't keep up with that.
How can you even? That seems to me like that would be hard to win.
Well, Apple was the first to come out with that very sleek, minimalist design. They filed some design patents, and that's...
You file a patent, you filed a patent. There you go.
They were the first to jump on it, and I guess the jury came back and said that there was infringement and found damages, and then the appellate court said you miscalculated the damages, and so that's where it is right now.
So how many lawyers are in your firm?
There's me, and there's Mark Koo out in Palo Alto. I talked to you about that earlier.
Oh, is that where he is? I saw that you had Mark Koo.
Yeah.
And you say he's of counsel. Does that just mean he's a lawyer?
We have a continuous working relationship. We share cases. We coordinate on cases, collaborate on cases, and things like that.
And then you have Marina.
Yes. And Marina she's formerly a UAMS professor. She's been in academia in scientific research for 20-something years. She's originally from Moscow,
Yeah, I can't even
Russia.
Pronounce her last name.
Mikhailova.
Oh, no.
And she's quite an asset. She helps out on the biotech type. And she's a patent agent. That's what she is.
She's got a PhD in biological science, so you are doing a lot of biotech. With your background and her background, y'all can really probably geek it out on the biotech.
That might be true.
Yeah, I don't even want to be at those beer drinking events.
Yeah. Well, there's patenting, but And really, a lot of people come in with a lot of different technologies. It doesn't have to be high tech to make money. Many low tech devices are really tremendous. And so you can't, it's not like the higher tech the better. That's not the case at all. It's just how innovative it is and how it's perceived in the marketplace, how the consumers, desire it.
So people call me all the time at Arkansas Flag and Banner, and they say, I get this call a lot. They say, I have designed a flag, and it is the best flag ever. Will you sign a non-compete and make these for me and put them on your website, and they are going to fly off your website? And I know that that's not true. It doesn't you can make all kinds of stuff, but without marketing and advertising, it's like putting up a billboard in the middle of a desert. And they often think that by just designing a great flag, there's somehow people are going to come to them and they're going to become rich without thinking about the advertising and marketing piece of it, which really is probably the biggest piece of almost anything.
That is a great observation, because many of my clients, they feel that as soon as they get their patent, money is going to start raining in. Some of the biggest obstacles is convincing a patent owner, an inventor, to turn that baby loose and give it to somebody who can actually make some money with it. Not all creative people, inventors especially, are necessarily good marketers. And so you really have to convince the inventor. Oftentimes they need to expand their team, and they need to pull in some marketing and sales expertise.
Yes, like some of the games like Monopoly. A lot of games at Mattel were not even invented by Mattel, anybody that worked for Mattel. They were invented by a guy with a great idea, and they took it to Mattel, who had deep pockets and big marketing outlets, and they began to sell, the game Clue, for instance. But those people that created the game and patented the game had to be able to let go of their baby enough to give it to somebody and give up a part. I mean, who wants 100% of nothing when you can have 40% of a lot?
And that's true of so much. The people that get patents, by and large, they're small people. They're not big business. They're entrepreneurs. They're solos, people like that. They're out there, very creative folks on their own, and they're getting the majority of the patents. And they just need to learn, hey, we're smart enough to get the patent, but it's not about brains necessarily in getting it into the consumer's hands and getting them to write a check for it.
Yes, you've got to have a marketing avenue. I mean, if they can sell the pet rock, and this is going to make you crazy, but now I'm drying hydrogenated water, which drives my family crazy. They're like, water is hydrogenated, and so I'm buying hydrogenated water now, and they're like, okay, here's my pet rock. But that's marketing.
Yes.
And it was a great idea, and I wonder if that guy patented his hydrogenated water.
Good question.
All right. You say that a substantial part of your law practice involves helping other law firms that do not have IP attorneys. What does that mean?
Well, again, there's not that many patent lawyers around, primarily because you do need a science background, and most I think attorneys are English majors, history majors, political science majors, and people like that. So there's already a shortage, so to speak, of patent lawyers, and so a lot of law firms don't know they could get the business. They don't have in-house their own patent lawyer on their staff.
So all these people that are going to school right now and are going in for a BA in political science should be getting a Bachelor of Science degree so that they can have a different type of specification in their law practice.
Well, everybody should get their education on what you really love, and also what's going to help you if you want to try to make a living with it.
I never would have thought, though, a Bachelor of Science and law went together when I read that about you. I don't know why.
Well, I was one of those guys that really didn't know exactly what I wanted to do in college. I happened to like the science, and that was really where my heart lay. And once I got out of undergraduate, I'd actually gone out to California, working for a restaurant, to get a year's worth of residency there. So my next education would be cheaper. I was going to be pursuing a PhD in basically neuroscience or neurobiology. And during that year, I just had a change of heart. And
from neuroscience to law?
Well, actually, there was a stint in there when I was actually a soap salesman for Colgate-Palmolive. Up in my territory was the wine country, was basically the Golden Gate Bridge north up to the Oregon border.
So you were drunk when you made this decision.
I'm very clean with my soap.
Oh, you've learned how to do that. So what happened really? What did happen? So you just went during that soap selling episode of your life?
So, that taught me, being a very small cog in a multinational corporate wheel was an interesting experience, and I really learned about business, just everyday business. And one of the things I learned is, I was a good salesman, but I also was tired of, I was on the road every other week, visiting a different region of my territory, and I just got the feeling that, hey, this is a lot of fun, but it's going to have its limitations for me. So I started looking into some other degrees, and it just so happened that law and business was what I was wanting to do. So that's what I did.
I cannot stress to listeners how important it is to just work at anything, at any job, because you never know where it's going to lead you. And so many entrepreneurs end up entrepreneurs because they took a job because they had to have money, like selling soap, and I was selling flags, and it took them somewhere that they never dreamed they'd go. But I can tell you this: if you're sitting on the couch waiting to get a job and only in what your degree's in, you're going to miss an opportunity out there.
You bet. And just like the old saying that Thomas Edison, I think it was him, that when he finally invented the light bulb. And it took him, hundreds or thousands of time, and he basically said, hey, the other times were all good. I learned how not to do it, but it led to the way to make it correctly. Same thing with me. I mean, I tried this, I tried that, but I kept following kind of my instincts of what I liked to do.
Yeah, I read your law firm works with individuals and businesses both. The Calhoun Law Firm crafts creative legal solutions for businesses and individuals in need of guidance and courtroom representation in the areas of patent procurement, licensing and litigation, copyright registration, license and litigation, trademark registration, license and litigation. All of these are litigation. Trade secrets counseling, unfair competition counseling, false advertising. I want to talk about that one. Business organizations, contract negotiations, commercial law, and so on. What is the difference between patents and copyrights?
Okay. Both patents and copyrights were provided for in the Constitution. And that's probably because of Benjamin Franklin's influence in drafting the Constitution. He was an inventor and a publisher. And you get patents for inventions. Okay, you can get a patent for an invention. You get copyrights for works of art. There is very little overlap between those. Either you've got an invention that has a usefulness, it's a useful thing, you get a utility patent for that, or other creative output from graphic arts to sculptures, three-dimensional art, to music, to just literary works, authorships. Computer programming is kind of a crossover. It was originally protected strictly by copyrights until about 1998 when a case came down. And for the first time, it made computer-governed inventions could possibly be patented. And ever since then, there's a secondary form of protection. And it's really, patenting is the most powerful if you can get it. It's a lot more difficult to get, and it doesn't last as long, but it's much more powerful while it exists. A patent will last 20 years from the filing date of the application, so that if it takes you a year and a half to get your patent, you got 18 and a half years left of protection. Copyrights, on the other hand, can last at least 70 years after the death of the last surviving co-author. And so it lasts a long time.
That's why Marvin Gaye's family was able to come back and sue. Who was that they just sued?
The Blurred Line song.
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
You've got Elvis copyrights still out there. I mean, there's a lot of those. They last a long time, and it doesn't cost very much to go after. You're talking about a $35 or $55 filing fee at the Library of Congress, which is where the Copyright Office is, and you can wait about 6 to 8 months for them to process it, and typically you'll get your copyright registration certificate back in the mail.
Some of the people that played in Dreamland are so far back that they don't have copyrights on their music anymore. So 70 years is usually the length.
No, it's longer than that. That's the shortest. The shortest duration for corporate and works made for hire can be 120 years. I mean, that's the shortest deadline right there, is at least 70 years after the death of the last surviving co-author or co-creator.
What's the difference between copyrights and trademarks?
Copyrights, again, those are for works of art. Trademarks are totally different. And copyrights and patents are much more close to each other. They're both types of property where the inventor or the creator is going to get protection for that particular creative output. Trademarks, the focus is really about preventing consumer fraud. And yes, the owner of trademarks does get the incidental benefit of getting it the protection, but it's the whole thing about trademark protection. It's for source identifiers. You see a symbol or you see a word or two, and you think
Nike. That's Nike's
right.
checkmark.
Just see a swoosh, or you just see just do it. That's Nike, and so that's the difference. When you protect trademarks, you prevent the competitors from adopting a confusingly similar mark so that they can't deceive the consumers and divert those customers to themselves.
So even if you make it slightly different, if it's deceiving, like people send out mail that looks like the U.S. government sent it out. How are they doing that with a seal that looks like somebody else's seal?
That's deceptive. There's a cottage industry in that, but it is deceptive, and you don't have to adopt the exact replica of somebody else's mark
to be infringing.
Correct. Although if you do, oftentimes you see like these Louis Vuitton bags or something of that nature where it is an exact replica, and that's counterfeiting, and those are criminal penalties and much higher
but it's everywhere
fines as well.
So why are they not getting sued?
They are.
They just can't find them because they're offshore?
Oh, they're going after them. There's a great amount of effort and money put into that.
So what's a trade secret?
Trade secret is classic example is the formula for Coca-Cola, where it has independent economic value just from not being known by others. Okay.
Yeah, Bush's Beans, family secret.
That could be, or those the Kentucky Fried Chicken, the recipe for that, perhaps.
I worked there. I tried to get that one. I want Faded Rose's soaked salad recipe.
Oh yeah.
Let's take a break. When we come back, I want to find out what is patentable and what is not, because I want to talk about names that are patentable. You're listening to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy. I'm speaking today with Joe Calhoun from the Calhoun Law Firm in the River Market of downtown Little Rock, Arkansas. Why'd you pick the River Market? Is that your second place you've been, or is that the first place you went to?
I picked that. That was the second place, and I'm no longer there, actually.
So you don't have a plate on the wall at the beer?
On the ceiling?
On the ceiling. What was the name?
I'm so angry about the flag saucer.
Because you deserve a plate on the ceiling.
I had 100 beers, and by the time I got my 100th beer and I presented it for that, they said we upped the number.
Oh my gosh, did you sue them?
Hey, I had an office directly above the kitchen, And I was
That's
very
too
much of a
tempting.
regular down there on that time. But,
I mean, it would just, how many beers do you have to have? 100?
100
Well,
at the
that's
time.
just a
Now
third.
it's more.
Now that's just a third of a year. I mean, you just go eat down there every day you just go eat lunch down there and have a beer every day for 100
Yeah.
days. That's
Yeah.
only 4 months out of the year or 5 months out of the year or something. Yeah, you could do that in a heartbeat.
But now I'm at the Bancorp South building on the 5th floor down by, kind of close to the river.
Oh, you like that?
Oh, yes.
That's
It's a great
nice.
place.
You're moving on up. All right, let's pick apart what's patentable and what's not. During the break, we talked about name, because I would like to patent flag and banner.
Okay. Again, you can't patent a name. Again, you get patents on inventions. Is there a name that's an invention? No. You get what you're talking about, flag and banner. That's a source identifier, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Trademark registration. Okay.
What?
Trademark registration. Now, keep in mind, anytime you have a source identifier, we talked about Nike, we talked about the swoosh being a source identifier, or Just Do It as being a source identifier for Nike. Once you start using something that's a source identifier, has some sort of source identification significance to consumers, you actually have a trademark at that time. You don't have to register it to have a trademark. What registration does is it will expand your protection outside of your immediate trade area to the entire United States if you get a federal registration.
So could I go register my name, flag and banner?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
What?
But it's not required, but it makes good sense to do so. It will prevent someone, it will put you on a national database. It will prevent someone from claiming later on that they had no reason to know about your name when they adopted a confusingly similar name.
Oh, they do that all the time to me on the internet. People are always chasing me around and trying to exploit my name, and I didn't know I could do something like that.
That's all. You really have to protect your identity, your business identity as well as
Every
your personal.
time I listen to my own show, I learn something. Last week I learned that you could clean your jewelry with 50% Mr. Clean and 50% water, and that Stanley Jewelers cleans their jewelry with that, and that it's the best. And my daughter did it, and she said to shout out to Laura Stanley that it is the best cleaner of jewelry ever. Every week I learn something new. I'm going to go do that. How much does that cost? You can tell me later. Or can I do it myself online?
You can do it yourself online, but it'll be difficult.
Yeah, I don't even read well, so it'd really be
it's
difficult.
subtly simple.
So let's pick apart inventions. What is patentable and what is not patentable?
Okay. You've got on the just standard things, widgets, products, things of that nature. You got software. Again, software is that neat kind of crossover between patent protection and copyright protection. The thing about patenting, you've got these design patents as well, and oftentimes you can get both copyright protection and design patent protection on the same thing. You talked about this flag, for instance.
Yeah.
Okay, flag is a useful article. You can probably get a design patent on a flag if you pass the patenting tests.
The
Okay?
MIA flag was patented.
Okay, all right. You can also, the graphic design of that flag, you can get copyright protection on that, just the pure graphic output, and you can put that graphic output on a coffee mug or on a T-shirt or what have you.
But that doesn't seem like a good idea because marketing is so important. You kind of want people to share your graphic. You want them to buy your product, which is your flag, and you want them to share that graphic so that your flag gets free advertisement, I would think.
Well, yeah. You just don't want competitors to be able to copy it and undercut your profits and so forth.
Sometimes the highest compliment there is to be copied.
Well, yes, but if that copier puts you out of business because they're selling a lot cheaper, you can be complimented all the way to insolvency.
Well, you can't. Yes, but if it's a copying you in a non-destructive way, that's just kind of sharing your logo, let's say, but they're not stealing your product, but they're sharing your logo, that could be almost viral sort of advertising for you.
Yes, if it's not a competitor. And again, you don't mind people, forwarding or sharing some of your handiwork, but you just don't want competitors to copy it and undercut your sales.
I have a friend who makes the U.S. flag. He hand paints the U.S. flag. And he sent it up to the fire station during 9/11, this beautiful U.S. flag. And pretty soon it became very popular. And pretty soon people started copying his style. Mm-hmm. So how would, and he feels like it's a huge compliment that people are copying his style. But was there anything he could do to protect, it's the U.S. flag.
Right. The fact that it's the U.S. flag, that you're not going to be able to get any rights to that. Although you can get some copyrights to some variations of it if you want to. It's got to be, it's a minimal level of creativity will support copyrights, okay? I did see a U.S. flag, and in the red stripes, all the stripes bore the names of 9/11 victims.
Oh, yeah, that one was copyrighted.
And that was huge. And, you didn't get the copyright on the flag itself, on this other artistic version of it.
Mm-hmm. That was the flag of heroes.
Yeah.
And then there was a flag of honor. The one was the flag of heroes, which was all the service people that died, and one was the flag of honor, which was just all the civilians that died. Lovely idea.
Yeah. The thing about copyrights is that you can't copyright an idea. You copyright really just the physical, perceptible manifestation of this creative output. As soon as you fix some creative output on some perceptible medium, it could be on anything. But as soon as you fix it, it's that particular version that you've got copyrights to.
So they can just barely change it, and all of a sudden your copyright's no good. What about if your invention's made out of metal and they make it out of plastic? So now is it not the same?
No. The copyrights, the infringement test is substantial similarity. If you just change a little bit, no. That's not necessarily going to get out from under an infringement claim.
This is complex, and is it a lot of litigation because there's a lot of angles in which. Do you do a lot of litigation and split hairs with people?
I do a fair amount. The copy and paste mentality is a copyright lawyer's dream.
What does that mean?
Copy and paste.
Yeah.
When you're online and you highlight something and you hit copy, and then you move it to another thing and paste it elsewhere.
Yeah.
And kind of, just put it on your own document or put it on your own web page or what have you.
Sounds like appraisers also.
That's copyright infringement. Copyrights gives the copyright owner the right to control copying and to control changes, derivatives to it, and also gives you the right to perform or display the original in public.
Well, what about Michelle Obama's speech practically read word for word? Is that an infringement? It wasn't copyrighted. The speech wasn't copyrighted, I doubt.
Here's a legal subtlety.
Uh-huh.
Copyrights technically spring up automatically into existence as soon as you fix some creative output in some perceptible medium. Okay? You don't have a court to enforce them in until you register the copyrights. Okay? And so when you say something was not copyrighted, what you're saying, it was not registered, I suspect. And if it wasn't registered, it wouldn't be too late to register, but you don't get damages kind of after the fact. You have to get damages after copyright registration.
So all these speeches around the world probably are not copyrighted. So people just plagiarize speeches all the time. You hear about it all the time.
Well, they're on the open airways and I guess the videos. There are some exceptions to copyright infringement. It's called fair use. And it's really typically where the courts have weighed competing constitutional rights. In fair use, it's the First Amendment right of free speech and association and so forth versus the other constitutional rights, copyrights. And guess what?
What?
The First Amendment right that inures to all the American people beat out the copyrights that inures to one person. And so for reporting, news reporting, even satire, you can use copyright protected material and you're not infringing because it's basically been a public policy decision by the judges that, hey, free speech.
I got it. So you were saying also at the break that you could copyright smells, so all the perfumes are copyrighted.
I know you can get trademark registration. Anything with source identification significance. There's that. I'm trying to think of the name of the studio, but it goes bum bum bum.
Oh yeah, CBS.
CBS. That's
good, Joe.
That's trademark registered. And there's a yarn that has got a particular fragrance.
Yarn?
That has, sewing yarn or knitting yarn.
Really?
That has,
did you do that or something? How did you know that?
Just something I've picked up in 25
Tell me
years.
the most, if you can, tell me what the best or most interesting thing you've ever copyrighted or trademarked.
Oh, goodness. Gosh, that's going to be hard. The neatest thing about my life.
Don't you better say Vicky. Vicky's listening. Vicky. Vicky.
Besides Vicky. is really the fact that people come to see me, and they've got dreams.
I love that.
They don't come to see me because they've been busted or they're going bankrupt, they're getting a divorce, they're hurt, what have you. They come to see me because they've got these dreams and they've been thinking about it. They've got some really neat things they're trying to protect and kind of turn into maybe an alternative life.
That is so interesting.
And
I've got that.
There's just so many neat things, projects I've done for people that have gotten them, protection on them.
Have any of them blossomed in anything really, really big?
There's one company that was traded on NASDAQ. It started off locally here, and they got some funding elsewhere in Chicago, and then they got more funding elsewhere.
I saw Contour Med was on your list.
Contour Med that's not although Contour Med is still here. That was the first spin out of UAMS, and I helped form that company and named them and got their trademark registration and got them up and going.
I love that name.
That's a neat name. Yeah,
that's a great name. It is a good name. I've thought that. So
it was a brainstorming session with the clients and me, and we kind of came up with that.
I like it. I think I even bought stock in it when it came out a long time ago. We didn't even know. What's the biggest mistake you see people make? It's
really not letting go, not of their invention or whatever their creative is. Thinking that, hey, I birthed this baby and I can take this all the way, and just not recognizing their own limitations. You need to keep a copy of the E-Myth in your office and give it to them every time they walk out the door, because the E-Myth is the entrepreneurial myth that they have to do everything. And I think every entrepreneur feels that way and has a hard time letting go of their baby. I often call Arkansas Flag and Banner my firstborn, and the very first person I hired to come and work for me, and I watched him answer the phone and talk to my customer, I thought, oh my gosh, I could do better. Tell them this. I just wanted to just jump down the phone with them, and the more I let go, the more I realized they were better at it than I was. And it's letting go, those first, probably the very beginning, letting go and letting someone else do it and help you, because you can't be everything. You can't be good and great at everything. And that's what the E-Myth talks about, is you can't be in the back making pies because you're a great pie maker, because your business will never grow past how many pies you can make. Yeah. So what's the one simple thing we can all do to protect ourselves? I know what I'm doing. I'm going back and registering my name. The simplest thing is you've got creative output, a copyright registration application. You can do it online. It's cheap. It lasts a long time if you can qualify for that copyright registration. That's the best bang for your buck. And patenting is really, I hate to say it, but you really have to go see a patent lawyer. Well, it's so complex. It is. It's just talking to you is complex. There's lots of subtleties and nuances, and it's just a highly specialized field. Your other passion is startups. You do have a great life. You talk to people with big dreams, and then you do startups, and you work at the Venture Center. Let's take a really, really quick break, and when we come back, I want to talk to Joe about his mentoring that he does at the Venture Center in downtown Little Rock, where you can go down and get advice from professionals. Joe, I can tell by your list of associations that you have in community involvement that you love working with startups and mentoring them. I mean, come on, dude. I got 2 pages of stuff you do. So let's talk about what you're doing right now. I think it's the Venture Center. Yep. Did you help start that? I did not help start it. I got involved at a fairly early stage. And, of course, they were down on Markham across from the State House Convention Center, and now they've moved around, kind of around the corner and down the street on Main Street. Really? It's a tremendous operation. They really are the support system for the Central Arkansas entrepreneurial ecosystem. I participate every Tuesday in a thing called Lift the Rock at 9 o'clock, and it's basically there's a local entrepreneur will will be scheduled to stand up and give some help, and just give their story, and maybe give some advice, tell some pitfalls and successes and things of that nature. There's a gong they ring whenever there's been a major positive happening to somebody, and it's just a good group. I'm a mentor there. They've got these various classes, and there's this thing called an accelerator, a business accelerator, where they basically nurture companies. They teach them certain skills and things of that nature, and then they put them in contact with professionals such as myself. There's a great group that are down there. I'm helping this one woman, and she has got this program that basically helps people analyze the compatibility of their business.
With what? Compatible with what?
Their business systems and align their goals and their strengths, and also sometimes it's used in the context of merging with another company or something of that nature.
Well, that's neat.
There's another woman I'm helping right now that she's developing an app for some diabetes prevention type of technology.
I need to ask those people. So at 9 o'clock, you're saying this is. You can go down there at 9 o'clock and you can hear another entrepreneur tell their story. Exactly what this radio show is.
Yes.
But it's at 9 o'clock every Tuesday, downtown Little Rock, Main Street at the Venture Center.
Yes, there's that. There's also at the North Little Rock at the Innovation Hub on Wednesdays. There's a similar type of a
what
program
time on
as
Wednesdays?
Well. 9 o'clock.
Are they associated together?
They are not.
So there's the Venture Center in Little Rock at 9 o'clock on Tuesday, and then there's the Innovative Hub.
Innovation Hub is over in North Little Rock
at 9 o'clock on Wednesdays.
Yes.
I need to go down there and get some people on my show that have got some good stories. I bet you could tell me some.
We've got a fairly healthy group of entrepreneurs in this Central Arkansas, and it's growing.
We do. We really do.
Yeah.
And you paying it forward is a wonderful thing. When did you decide you wanted to start paying it forward? Like mine was 6 months ago.
I was doing this back in the 90s, actually, when it was before it was sexy to do it. And I kind of hung it up after a while because really there wasn't the funding. There were all the pieces in the puzzle were not there for a totally healthy ecosystem. But really, since for the last 5 years plus, people have realized that, hey, it's the small businesses that are driving our economy, that are driving our jobs.
Thank you.
And actually, some of the powers that be, especially in the financial community, have also gotten that feeling. So they're they're less risk averse.
Thank you. That's good. In the 1990s, it says you represented the Technical Enterprise Center of Arkansas, the first business incubator. So there you are, 1990. You were right in there.
Yeah.
I love it. Anything you want to tell our listeners? Any words of advice?
If you're creative out there, keep creating. Keep good notes if that helps you.
Oh, interesting.
And come see me when you want to get some protection.
How do they find you?
Joe.Calhoun at CalhounLawFirm.com. I've got some on my website, CalhounLawFirm.com. I've got some videos that discuss some of the ins and outs of the various intellectual property type issues.
Well, aren't you something? And that's a brand new website. You just launched it a little while ago.
Oh,
a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
Oh, a few months ago. Yeah, well, and you got videos on how to. That's great. So it's just CalhounLawFirm.com?
That's it.
I love it. Who's our guest next week, Tim?
Our guest next week is the pastor of Joe's Church.
All right.
Do you know Father Fred Ball's coming
Absolutely.
next week?
Oh, yeah.
I love that.
Amen.
Amen. Listen, every one of my guests get a cigar for birthing a business.
Excellent.
That comes from the Humidor Room at Colonial Wine and Spirits.
You're
so
welcome.
I think you might enjoy that. It's just like a lawyer to smoke a cigar. Also, if you've got a great entrepreneur story and you would like to share, I'd love to hear from you. Send a brief bio and your contact info to questions@upyourbusiness.org, and someone will be in touch. And finally, to our listeners, thank you for spending time with me. If you think this program has been about you, you're right, but it's also about me. Thank you for letting me fulfill my destiny. My hope today is that you've heard or learned something that's been inspiring or enlightening, and that it, whatever it is, will help you up your business, your independence, or your life. I'm Kerry McCoy, and I'll see you next Friday. Until then, be brave and keep it up.
You've
You've been listening to Up in Your Business with Kerry McCoy, a production of flagandbanner.com. If you miss any part of the show or want to learn more about UIYB, go to flagandbanner.com and click on Radio Show. Like us on Facebook or subscribe to her weekly podcast wherever you like to listen. All interviews are recorded and posted the following week with links to resources you heard discussed on today's show. Underwriting opportunities available upon request. Kerry's goal is to help you live the American dream.